Let's return to our top story now. The President has set up a ministerial team to probe possible COVID tender fraud. The Finance Minister is furious that processes have not been followed and has been meeting with provincial finance MECs today. But claims of corruption in the ANC are nothing new. The arms deal, state capture years. There's more. A group of ANC veteran leaders has been especially outspoken in recent years on the issue of corruption, and Cheryl Carolus was among those who called for any member accused of corruption to recuse themselves from the party list for the May election last year. Cheryl Carolus joins me now. Good evening, and thank you very much for your time. You know, you think back to the arms deal in the 90s, the state capture years, and now the alleged COVID tender corruption in the ANC. Is this just same old for a party that seems to have lost its moral compass?
Good evening, Sally, and good evening to all the viewers. Sally, I think there's something bigger than just the ANC. I think if we think of the EFF and the implication in the BBS scandal, if we think of the DA and some of the property allegations around property allocations, and in all these cases, from the ANC to the EFF to the DA, all of this had scandalous implications for poor people. And now we have this PPE procurement, which I must say is the lowest of the low. I could not believe, I still cannot believe how shocking it is that leaders of any kind of party could even think of abusing or stealing on this. And so I think that this draws a line. That if I'm sick and tired of the mealy-mouthed nonsense that I've been listening to for the past week or so, that this has unfolded. And I think that I'm pleased at what the President has announced today, but I think the President is going to need some help. Because the people who surround the President, we mustn't forget, it's a product of Nazareth, it's a 50-50 thing. There's a Secretary General, the number of people in the top 6 leadership of the ANC, and a number of leaders in other political parties who are all implicated. I think we're going to need some help, and that's why I want to make the strongest call to say that I'm going to throw my weight behind civil society initiatives to, in fact, name a few of these top people who are implicated and to make sure that we bring them to prosecution. This is just the lowest scum we could possibly be. I think we shouldn't let it die. We should. Yeah. Sorry, Sally.
No. You've been very upfront publicly that there is a battle for the soul of the ANC. So is that battle actually still underway? And is that why we seem to be getting mixed messages from the ANC? So Nasrec decides if you are under suspicion of corruption, you must step aside or you must be suspended. We see Florence Radzilani, Danny Msiza suspended over VBS. And then, gosh, they're reinstated just recently. That's a party that doesn't seem to be on the same page, or a party that is not actually committed to making a difference and cleaning up corruption. So which is it?
Sally, I think that the ANC should ask itself that question. As a stalwarts and veterans, we are on record as saying that we will not tolerate, and we should not, no member should, because the ANC sets the tone for what happens. I want to just re-emphasize that this is something to do with the body politics. And I think it is important, because when you have people in opposition benches who are as corrupt as some of the corrupt people in the ANC, you can see the unholy alliances they make from time to time when they start to attack key people in government who are trying to clean up when it comes to the MPA and so on. So I think we shouldn't just focus on the ANC. I think there's something stinking in the body politic, and we should really deal with a whole lot of them, because we're going to have to rely on all of them to fix the legislation and to enforce the enactment of the legislation as it exists, not to juggle the system. And so from VBS to the DA property stuff in the Cape, to this ANC scandal after scandal since Jacob Zuma's tenure, I really think that we as the public who vote across the board have to actually step up to the plate here as well. We can't be passive recipients of this nonsense.
Look, I don't think that anyone would argue that corruption is endemic in our society, across politics, but also in the private sector. The reality, though, is that the ANC has been in power the whole time, and the ANC should be leading by example, and the ANC often has some of the worst examples. And that's the concern. Can the ANC correct itself is perhaps the question. You're saying we should support the president. Is that going to make a difference? Is there you seem to be suggesting that there's a good few in the ANC who are trying to win this corruption battle.
Well, it's not just a good few, Sally. I think that if you look at where we were with Jacob Zuma's time, the fact that we managed to get rid of Jacob Zuma, that was one heck of a battle, as you recall. And as we've been saying, this is an ongoing thing. It's not a spectator sport here. We all have to roll up our sleeves. ANC members who are appalled at this recent event need to remind ourselves that this is still built on that rottenness in the organization, and we need to cleanse it. But I want to keep on coming back, Sally. It goes back to that same person who's an NUM leader, the National Union of Mine Workers, the union that was built by Cyril Ramaphosa, Halema Motlanthe, as well as Zimmerwald. How do they allow a leader, a paid official of the union, to run around with a car that costs 3.5 million rand and no one asks him? How does he afford it?
Well, I'm sure that car's worth quite a bit less now since all the scratches on it. I do want to ask you one last question about the president. And I read a very interesting column by Justice Milan, and he was saying that Cyril Ramaphosa's great strength has always been an ability to pull everyone into the tent. But now it's his greatest weakness, and he needs to start kicking people out of the tent. Would you agree?
Yes, I think so. And I don't think Cyril Ramaphosa is shy to do that. I think he's done that. He's just not going to stand on a rooftop and say that. But I think he needs help, because I also think if we all, like myself, getting a bit frustrated with the slowness of this, I think we've got to join civil society and make sure that we use the law to its fullest extent to lay charges, to have these people prosecuted, to encourage people to come forward with information when you have it. And I think I want to see as many people of these locked up within the next year. And then I think parliamentarians also need to step up, because there are laws that have slipped. There's things around the PEPs that Ismagashul is hiding behind with his son. What his son has done is immoral, and as a father, he should feel ashamed of himself. That he can actually try and justify son profiteering whilst frontline hospital staff are dying of substandard equipment, and in fact, overpricing of these things. And he really should feel ashamed of himself, because if he can't make that connection, the public can. And I think he should actually do his son a favor and actually act like a proper father in this regard. And Parliament can fix these things and support. Minister Tito Mboweni has already said he's planning to tighten up the regulations that he has authority over, and he does have authority. And I expect all parties to not politic around this and to back it fully, unless they themselves have their fingers in the cookie. Starting from the ANC, my organization.
Strong words there. Thank you very much. ANC veteran Cheryl Carolus. Still